Besides focusing on healing the cell, one of the things that I do is look for hidden infections. With autoimmune, what happens by nature of the process is the body, through mimicry, the body says, now I'm a foreign invader. Now I'm the enemy. Something in my body looks like something that I should be concerned about and launch an attack. When you have these chronic these hidden infections that have been there lying, the immune system is constantly having to do something. And then you get into the whole leaky gut, intestinal permeability. Then you end up with food sensitivities. Now the body, like the immune system, has so much to do. At a certain point, it'll reach a threshold and it's like, okay, now I'm struggling. That's when we start to see an increase in symptoms, or where we start to notice a development in things like Hashimoto's, lupus, and some of the other things that come along down the pike that are, more prevalent. Immune response like this leads to this raging inflammation. They're feeding back and forth all the time. Chronic inflammation is implicated in, I don't know, 90% of all the chronic diseases out there, probably 100% of the chronic diseases. It's a vicious cycle that we have to figure out at the entry point of how to break that cycle. One of the things that I do, I start somebody out, get their body ready to start to do something, because I'm going to start to ask it to do a whole lot. I always assume that they don't have a pristine diet and they don't get a lot of variety. I always recommend a good whole food, organic, multi-food vitamin. I always recommend something to support the cell membrane. We've talked about that so many times. It's made up of a phospholipid layer, bilayer, phosphatidylcholine, omega-6s and 3s at the right ratio, 4:1. I always recommend something to upregulate mitochondrial function. We need B vitamins to upregulate as part of the function of methylation, and we need the right kind. If you don't methylate well, especially if you're genetically predisposed, you can't convert folic acid into methylfolate, which is what we need for mitochondrial function. And our mitochondria produces our energy. It helps us to detox. It's one of the things that's involved in genetic expression, so turning on good or bad genes. We need our mitochondria to work really well, especially if we have fatigue. We need them to work really well. They make ATP, which is our energy. So I always recommend a methylated B complex. Almost everybody is depleted in minerals, and trace minerals are involved in a lot of different functions and pathways. So always recommend, if the whole food vitamin doesn't have a good supply of trace minerals, or even if it does, oftentimes in the beginning we'll give extra because we just need that. Then feeding the microbiome. We get a new microbiome every 3 months, and we need a variety of good things. And there are different bacteria that do different things. My first big 5, and I also started adding vitamin D because everybody's depleted. If you don't get out in the sun in the wintertime, we just don't. With full skin exposure, like bathing suit exposure, 15 minutes, you can make 10,000 vitamin D. Just so important in our immune function, our healing, and the ability to repair and heal itself. If we don't get full sun exposure, we don't get it in our diet. We have to supplement it. I just added that as like a staple. That's my maintenance. Then we start talking about what we can do to help treat some of the things that are going on. Then we can start looking at supporting the liver to be able to detox. We can look at herbs and things like that to help deal with the different infections. You definitely have to prep everything. If you think of the way your body removes toxins as a funnel, like you got to poop every day, like you have to, that's at the bottom. If that's clogged, nothing else is going to work. And above that is the kidneys, which is like the sieve where everything filters through like a mesh sieve. Above that's the liver. The liver is like the washing machine. It breaks things down and uses it, or it moves it over into the next phase where it breaks it down even more. And it takes it from being bound to fat to being bound to water. This is where we make glutathione. It can move out of the body through the kidneys or the colon. Above that, we actually can excrete through our lungs and through our skin. The first question, how do you poop? How many times a day? You think you're pooping great? You probably aren't. The kidneys, for the most part, unless something's really going on, half your body weight in ounces in filtered water is what I recommend. For the liver, turmeric is great for supporting phase 1. For phase 2, I often give extra glutathione, liposomal glutathione, something that gets absorbed in the mouth and doesn't have to make it through the digestive tract to help support phase 2. I like to deliver herbal combinations is in dropper form. So it gets absorbed mostly in the mouth, doesn't have to go through the digestion. Or start low and go slow and just see how they do. They have ones for things like mold or viruses. They have really good ones specifically targeted for Epstein-Barr, specifically targeted for Coxsackie. One of the things that some providers that I've known do is anytime you give those herbs, you have to give something to grab them and get them out of the body. You got to take a binder. If you don't, all you're doing is killing stuff and resorbing it. It's called autointoxication. You kill it off and you resorb it. And that's why people end up with chronic infections and feeling worse than they did in the first place. Because they're not taking something to grab a hold of everything that's dying and getting rid of it. Before we wrap up, one of the things I wanted to talk about was Herxines. People are so afraid that they're going to feel bad. And they call it Herxheimer because there was a Dr. Herxheimer that originally came up with that term. And really, it's just die-off symptoms. When things start to die, the cells burst and they burst open their contents and then all the toxins come out. It could be things like you feel worse fatigue, body aches, headaches, tiredness, or the opposite where you're like ramped up, you're agitated, you're anxious. Some of the things that I recommend, the easiest thing besides the binder is Alka-Seltzer Gold, or you can make your own. It's sodium bicarbonate and citric acid. What's happening is your body becomes more acidic when you're releasing all those toxins. You're trying to alkalinize it. I love Epsom salt baths. The magnesium sulfate relaxes you. It pulls all the toxins through the skin. Our skin is our largest detox organ. That works really well. Castor oil packs. You get some organic castor oil and some muslin. You soak the muslin in the castor oil. You put it across your liver, which is like underneath your right side of your rib cage. Wrap it around so it stays in place. And you put a heating pad or a hot water bottle on it. And that helps to break up the congestion in the liver. It's not everybody's favorite because it is a little messy. For some people, you just have to get over the mindset shift that this is different. It is acceptable. People all around the world do this. In other countries, they do this still. They've been doing this for thousands of years. Since World War II, we've been directed to think a certain way. It's hard to overcome, but these things are tried and true, ancient ways. We're definitely going to do a mindset talk sometime soon. Take courage, have hope, and don't give up. There is hope.